What is up, everybody? In this video, I'm here with Conscience, and we are going to be doing a JoJo part ranking video. I've never done a ranking for just the JoJo parts before. I've always just done goofy, off-topic things like, oh, what about their drip? Or what about the JoBro duo? What about the group? Let's talk about Kakuid for the 5th time. But I've never done like a part video because I felt like I was just gonna save the part video for like a better special occasion. But now that my channel is doing different videos than other than just JoJo, I might as well just do this one with a friend. So we're gonna be ranking the parts.
Started the moonlight dance.
Yeah, I guess I'll link his song and his TikTok down below, and I'll also link my new TikTok too. Sorry for the shameless plug, but let's just get into this video. We can start with like in chronological order from like part 1. So part 1 on the tier list, where do you think that should be?
We're ranking the parts. So this was barely even like a part, bro. It was like what, 9 episodes? So it's gotta go like, I'm putting in an okay. There's no F tier, so that's very interesting.
Top.
No, it's not S tier. I was saying there's no F tier, so that's interesting.
Because none of the JoJo parts are F, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I want to give it a C just because like it started it all, but it's definitely one of the weaker parts for sure.
Yeah, I think the anime for part 1 is definitely just like very. And I also know a lot of people, like, when they watch part 1, they're like, I couldn't get into JoJo, man. I couldn't get into it because part 1 is so, like, it was so boring at first. And I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see why.
So like S tier in my heart. But like, yeah, it's definitely one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, I like part 1. I have an on and off relationship with this part. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is actually a good part. And sometimes I'm like, dude, this part is trash. But I go, it should be C tier. It's not garbo. It's just like, it can be kind of boring sometimes. And after his battle tendency, I think this is like a B tier. B tier.
You already know that I'm putting that S tier. I would put it S
tier. S tier is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. We can compromise and put it in like A, but like S tier is crazy. This is crazy. Like, that's crazy. Put in A. I personally think it's like a B tier because I don't know. I just think it's a B tier. I think it's an okay. Out of all the JoJo parts, it just feels to me like the least JoJo out of all the JoJo parts to me. I think it's kind of like the black sheep of the JoJo series. Like, when I think of part 2, I'm like, yo, the Pillar Man. And I think of a lot of funny moments, but like, just like of the show in general, it just kind of just feels not as JoJo as some of the other JoJo parts, surprising the entire show. No one else shows up, so, but I think that's good because, you know, after part 3, you know, is stand of the week kind of thing, so.
Thanks.
And that can get really old really fast, but part 3 I think is still like an A tier pick. Personally, I think it's still A. I think it's better than Battle Tendency. You could put it S, but like, part 3 has so many problems to me that are just glaring that I just looked over when I was like first watching it, and when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh god. And when I watched it the third time, I'm like, geez, this is pretty bad. Like, I feel like part 3 has the worst pacing out of all the parts. It just drags. It just drags. Part 1's pacing isn't as bad because there's barely a part. It's barely, like, it's literally like 8 episodes. It's over within like a day. It's less than most anime running season 1s. Like, it's usually 12. This is 8. It was so short that they just combined battle tendency and you know, Phantom Blood in 1 season. That's how short Phantom Blood was. And Stardust Crusaders, like, don't get me wrong, like, Stardust Crusaders definitely has like probably one of the most grand feeling JoJo's. Like, it definitely feels like yeah, I also love the group. The group is definitely super clean, but I'm not gonna lie, some of the group basically like Avdol. Abdul does basically nothing. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. I really like Abdul, but like he's there to do practically nothing except for like a couple of cool things. And in the OVA, he had some cool moments, but like, just oh my gosh, like what is this? What is this
Did you
nonsense?
see the
He had a cool stand, like, and he had an OP stand too, but like, dude is just doing literally nothing. So it's just like, what the hell? And the main character Jotaro, I don't like him as the MC. I think he's better as like the guy you call when you need help, like in part 4. But as the MC,
Yeah, he's not a good at main character like that. He really lacks.
yeah,
Person.
he's kind of boring to me. But I still love Jotaro. He's still cool, and he has his goofy one-liners. You know, he basically feels like a Michael Bay Transformers character to me.
Interesting comparison.
He feels like a Michael Bay directed character, bro. That's what he feels like. You know, it is. He's fine, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like he can be better. And the whole group is cool, and the main villain Dio is alright too. But like, I don't know. The pacing and some of the stand of the weeks are just so boring and so just like, why are we watching this? So I put it in A tier. It's still a legendary part. It's like when you think of JoJo,
I think of part 3.
Everyone thinks of part
Yeah,
3.
I think of part 3
because part 3 is the most iconic. So part 4 is an S tier part. I think everyone can agree with part 4 being an S tier part.
It's definitely one of the better parts.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
I still have more memories around 3 and 2, but part 4 is a better part.
I have memories around all of them, and I remember when I first watched JoJo, I always liked part 3 the most, but part 4 had some really funny moments too. Like all the parts have funny moments, like with the guitar in part 2, he's like, wee. And I remember I watched it in the dub as well.
Yeah, the dub is like definitely
was so goofy. He was like, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like,
the dub is a must watch for sure. The dub is a must watch.
It's goofy. I think the dub for part 2 is kind of funny. The sub for part 3 is way better than the dub. The dub for part 3, I feel like, is kind of boring, especially with like certain scenes like Darby and stuff. It's cringe hearing like facts. Like it's a lot funnier in the sub because it's weird hearing Dio go like useless. Like, you know, that's not what he's supposed to say, man. That's not what he's supposed to say. Come on now. But part 4 definitely had some really funny moments because of Yoshikage Kira. Him as a villain was not only funny, but I think he was the better villain than Dio in the Pillarmen.
Yeah, for sure.
He was just super funny to watch.
He really felt like a villain. He
Yeah.
really felt like a villain.
He was pretty funny, especially when he was like talking about the Mona Lisa, and he was like,
his death scene.
I was like, oh my god, like what the hell? Yo, like why is he talking about his boner? What the hell? And I also remember watching that in the dub as well, and he sounded so weird in the dub. He sounded so weird, man. He sounded off. You know, him talking about
me of Joe from You.
Dude, I remember there was the scene in the dub for JoJo where it sounded so dumb and goofy. He was like, I got a rock hard cock. And I'm just like, bro, what? And I remember I was on the phone with Conscience at work one time, and I was talking to this coworker, and it just so happened that the coworker was gay, and I was on the phone with Conscience, and the coworker couldn't hear him because he was on my AirPods, and then while I was talking to him, Conscience was like, he was saying his name, and he was like, yeah, I got a rock hard cock. Oh my god. Just in my ear. And I couldn't even hold in my laugh, and I just started laughing in front of the coworker, and he was like, what's so funny? And I'm just like, nothing. Like, like nothing. Like, no. I was just like, oh, I'm on the phone, you know. And I'm pretty sure from that day on, like, he always had like some type of weird thing. And I'm just like, I didn't mean to make him feel like that. But after part 5, where do you think part 5 should be? Because I know we're not gonna agree at all with this.
Yeah. So I'll say the first time I watched part 5, I was confused on everything that happened, especially towards the end with like the twist, and then like I never still to this day I don't like Diablo. I just don't. I just don't feel much for him. I don't really care for him that much. I think he had potential, but every other villain in JoJo is just more memorable and more funny to me, and I just did not really like him. I think part 5 has aged a lot better, to be honest, than most of the parts. Like part 1, 2, and 3 have not aged the best compared to 4 and 5, and even 6, even though I haven't finished 6 yet. Part 5 aged pretty well, I'll say, and I didn't really like Giorno too much at first. I'll say he's not a bad MC. I just I think my main gripes with the show was with the season or part was like the lack of use of some characters, especially when I forget the dude's name. He had like that OP stand that he couldn't even use. Like they basically just got written off the show, and just the characters dying, and then it just did not feel like how it should have went down. I know that like barely makes any sense, but I feel like that part just could have been better. Just really could have been better. That villain is not that cool. I honestly think Mista carried hard. Not gonna lie, Mista and Bucciarati carried hard. Not gonna lie. Bucciarati, I know I'm not saying that name right.
He called him something different. He called him
I always call him Bugatti. I always call him Bugatti.
It's Bucciarati, bro. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What? I was like, what?
That's why I would call him Bugatti boy.
Goofy. Yeah, I think part 4 or part 5. Where would you put it in the tier list? Is it B?
Yeah. I personally would put it B. I like the other parts more. Maybe I gotta rewatch it.
That is
I think Giorno is just.
That is insane.
I think Giorno's boring.
I think
the villain is lame.
That part 5 is an S tier part. B tier? What is this nonsense? Like, what is the
characters?
That is not
characters had more potential.
Like what? You think Caesar, Avdol, Jotaro did better? Come on now. What does Lisa do other than teach them? Come on now, bro.
Okay, I gotta watch.
She goes from the teacher to the damsel in distress. That don't really make sense.
I will say part 5 aged better than the other two.
This is ridiculous.
And it's probably
come on now.
Part 5 is objectively better, but I gotta rewatch it.
An interesting gimmick, unlike Dio and Cars and the Pillar Man. Like, what is their gimmicks? We're just powerful. Like, he has a cool gimmick of switching personalities and stuff. That's really cool, bruh. Come on now. What is this?
I did not like that villain.
Giorno is a better MC than Jotaro and Joseph. Okay, maybe not Joseph.
Nah, I like Joseph.
Not
Joseph.
I
like Joseph better.
But I think Giorno's like a close like third behind like Josuke. Okay.
Josuke.
I think
Josuke Glaze.
Josuke's like second. I think he's like worse than Joseph, but like he's a close second. But Giorno is definitely a clean MC. He gets way too much hate, just way too much. Or he's boring. He's not like.
Maybe I gotta rewatch it. Maybe I gotta rewatch.
This is ridiculous. This part is not a B. This just doesn't even look right.
It does look weird. I'll say it does look weird, but
like
I enjoyed the other parts way more than that part, bro.
Part 2 don't even have a group, except for like those 2 teachers, and one of them dies, and one of them is literally pretending to be dead, basically. Like, come on now. You probably don't even remember them. You don't even remember those 2 dudes, probably from part 2. But
I just remember there were some tall, old, like, dudes.
But you remember every person in part 5, though. You remember
part 5 is effectively better than those 2 parts.
The group.
I just enjoyed the others more. I enjoyed the other parts more.
Giorno is not the leader of his group. Okay, he's not the leader. The leader is Bucciarati.
I like everybody other than Giorno too.
Giorno is the MC, but he plays more of a Jotaro in part 4 kind of role where he's just like, he's not the leader of the group. Like, he's not the, that's Bucciarati. Bucciarati is the leader. He's the end all be all, say what, goes. He's in charge. Giorno is just a support. And I think he fills that role pretty good. Because in damn near every scene, he's not trying to steal the spotlight like Joseph or like Jotaro. He's always trying to push the other group members to do the job. That's why in part 5, I feel like all the group, like every single one of the group members, except for Fugo, because Fugo, I think, does something to me which is realistic. Because, to be fair, all these people in this group should be dying, okay? In part 3 and part 2, like, Caesar dies, but there's no one else to die. There's not a group in part 2, but in part 3, everyone just dies at the very end. In part 5, like, people die before they even meet Diablo, and Fugo's over here quitting because to be fair, any normal person in that situation would just be like, I'm not doing that because that's stupid, like, because that's actually a dumb idea what they're doing. They're basically just, like, writing their own deaths. And they did. A lot of them did die. So it's just like, what is this, man? And they're in the mafia. Like, these guys are not, like, particularly good guys, like part 2 or part 3. They're not, like, yes, they help people, but, like, they're not, like, out here trying to save people's lives, like, spare lives, they're just killing them. I think that's, like, a good twist. I think that's, like, better, because if this were real life, why would in part 3 they just not kill all the enemy stand users? Why are they just letting them live and just being like, oh, they're just retired, they're done, we'll just let them leave again? Like, why would they do that, bro? Like, come on now, that don't really make sense. They should be killing them. They do in part 5 all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Giorno is, like, rare. Like, Giorno on, like, he does like some, he's not Jotaro, okay? He's not Jotaro. He's not always making the W just like, oh yeah, he beat the bad guy just cuz. Like, there's always a reason to why Giorno wins. And half the time, he's not even the dude who's winning. It's the other people.
He's acting like he already doesn't have a video about Giorno.
Because this is ridiculous. This putting this in B tier is like possibly just like the dumbest tier ranking
you could
possible.
Put it at the top of A tier.
This part is better than both of these parts. This part is better than both. This part deserves an S tier. Like, all the points I'm making are just, they are points. Like, they are better points. It's ridiculous. Like, I actually have
my opinion is better than yours.
Okay, you can have your opinion and whatnot, but like,
I say I need to rewatch it. That's fair. I just from memory, I enjoyed the other parts more. They just have.
Oh, I know. I remember what everybody was saying, and I remember what you said. You were like, "Oh, bro, like, part 5 was kind of a letdown because I was expecting so much from Dio's son. Like, I was expecting him to be crazy." And I'm just like, what kind of, like, so you just set unreal expectations at that point.
That's true, but he still was just not too interesting for me when I watched it.
You guys let me know in the comments down below if you think part 5, where would you put part 5? Okay, do you think it's a B tier, C, D, or S? I think it's S. He thinks it's goddamn B.
I think he's on just some crazy just donut mixture, bro.
No. I mean, you're on donut mixture with part 3 and part 2, bro, because it's ridiculous. It's so much easier to go back to watch part 5 than part 3 and 2, man.
I'm just a 3-2 guy, bro.
There's no cringe. There's no diss against, part 3 and part 2, but I definitely think part 5 to me was just better. Because I had a lot of bias for part 3 especially, but I was just like, I do think part 5 is probably, I like it better now. After his part 6, this guy didn't even finish part 6.
I mean, I kind of know what happens, but I didn't finish it, so like my opinion on this is not really like super credible, to be honest.
I think part 6 is like an A tier. I like it better than part 2.
I think it was one of the better parts so far while watching it. I really like the Joe Bros, I guess, in this case. I liked Hermes and Food Fighters. Food Fighters is my favorite so
Wait,
far.
what'd you call it?
Food Fighters. Is that her name?
Wait, say it again one more time.
Hermes and Food Fighters.
What's her first name? Food Fighters?
Yeah, isn't that her name? Oh, shut up, bro.
It's not Food Fighters.
You know what I mean, bro? You know what I mean?
It's
yeah,
Food Fighters,
man.
man. You know that song, like that?
Yes,
you've heard
yes,
all the
Spot,
time?
yes. Yes, Spot.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't
Like the band or whatever. He said Food Fighters, like, like what is he talking about? I was like, what did you say? Oh.
Whatever, bro. You know what I mean, bro.
But yeah, part 6.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't finish it. I say, but when I was watching it, I thought it was better than part 3 and 2. I thought it was just like, it was just a better part. Like I said, I always have like a soft spot for 3 because for one, now that's what where I started with JoJo, and but part 6 is definitely like better than like 3 and 2.
You think part 6 is better than 3 and 2?
Yeah.
I think it's better, but I actually like part 3 more than part 6.
I like part 3 and 2 are my 2 favorite parts. Like that's probably not going to change until part 7 comes out since you keep glazing that.
Yeah, part 7. Oh yeah.
Because I all I hear is like part 7 is peak JoJo peak.
He'll see
right here.
He'll see when I'm talking.
They'll all see.
Because you'll see, bruh. You will see why part 7 is so clean if they do it right in animation. So, part 6 is definitely a cool part though. Yeah, I like it better than part 2. Now more than part 3. I think it's better than part 3 and 2, but I like part 3 better. So we can just put it there. And part 7, he hasn't read it yet, but let's just put that at the top there. Yep. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it for him, and I'm not gonna explain why, because everyone knows why Steel Ball Run is peak. So we don't even have to explain that one. And part 8, I haven't finished reading part 8, but so far I'd say it's like pretty good B tier. I like it better than part 2. I'm not gonna spoil this one either, but so far, at least from what I've read, it's definitely like better than part 2. Probably when I'm done reading it, it's probably gonna be like up here, like probably like 3rd maybe. But so far, I'd say it's part 8 is like A tier, you know. And I haven't even started reading part 9 yet, because part 9's like, there's barely anything out for part 9. So I think this tier list came out really nice. Kind of. I honestly hate the way this tier list looks. It does not look like an aesthetically pleasing tier list. Yeah.
It looks like you're playing Tetris.
Facts. It just looks weird. Very weird.
I think that's just a compliment to JoJo, bro. It doesn't really got mid like that.
Part 5 should be here. That's where this part should be. But we'll leave it there, you know, whatever.
You can put it there. It's your video, bro. I'm just saying, bro.
This is a collaborative tier list. Okay, we both made compromises. Okay, I would have put this part here. I would have put part 2 here. Not here, but because
part 2 should be Z tier, bro.
No, part 2 is not that good. Okay, stop with this nonsense. Stop with this part 2 nonsense. You can't even give too many clean reasons why part 2 can be better than all these parts. Come on now.
Lisa, enough said.
What? You could say that about like any character. You see, I could say that about Dio. Dio. Have you seen Dio? Or Poochie? Or that dude, John Gallier from the prison. You know, his thick boob.
Oh, that nigga.
You can see that guy makes it like S tier.
Yeah.
But I think it did turn out fine. But you guys let me know where you would make your tier list. Please let me know where you would put Golden Wind in, you know, in the parts, because
his opinion's so fast.
Part 5, please I feel like I'm not alone here, and part 5 being better than these parts and being an S tier. But you guys let me know down below. You can say your final words, I guess.
Yeah, I think Yoshikage Kira's spinoff should be number one because that's just peak. He gets a redemption arc. He's really not that
Oh
bad
my
of a guy
god.
to get
Oh my
annoying.
god. He hasn't even read it yet and he's already judging it. He hasn't whatever. Whatever. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.